Welcome to the NBA Prop Pick Show, powered by EV Analytics. I'm John Metler. He's Adam Scherter. He's coming off of a 3-0 sweep last week on Thursday, all from one game. We're complaining that wasn't a great slate, and he could only use one game, but he sweeps the board 3-0. Adam, how's it going today?
Going pretty well. Hopefully can keep the hot streak going. It's been a good start to the season.
Yeah, we got Keldon Johnson over assist, Chris Paul under 3-pointers made. And now I'm blank. Oh, Anthony Simons under points was the 3 that we cashed on last week. Before we get rolling here through the picks, I have a question for you. Personal battle for myself right now. Donovan Mitchell over assist. 3 straight times I played it. 3 straight times it's shown good EV. 3 straight times he hasn't even come close. So my question to you is, because you brought up last week, Anthony Edwards. You said his 3-pointers under, you were playing and then you stopped. At what point, like, the math keeps kind of showing up, but it's just like not happening? When do you decide like I'm over this? I'm just gonna leave this player alone, or did you keep going?
I think it really depends how confident I am in the projection inputs. So, like in the case of Anthony Edwards, any good projection system is going to be, regressed to things that have happened in the past. And so at this point in the season with like Anthony Edwards, any good projection system is still going to be projecting him for a similar number of threes attempted as he has throughout his career. And if I just think that input is wrong because he is very actively shooting more threes now, then I'm going to be hesitant to go to it. In the case of Donovan Mitchell, I think it's a similar thing where whatever projections you're using are assuming that you get some sort of similar assist opportunities and conversion rate for Donovan Mitchell as in the past. So if those numbers are still in line with what he's done in the past, I'd keep going to it and just assume he's going to run better. If they're drastically different, then, I would change my opinion. But, so far this year, he's still second on the team in potential assists per game at 7.4. Not sure off the top of my head where he was last year. I'm pulling that up now. But last year he was at 11.4 potential assists per game. So, he is playing 5 fewer minutes per game so far this year, and you've seen the potential assists come down. So I think the big thing for me there would probably be making sure that I'm projecting him for fewer minutes than in the past, because I do think that with Kenny Atkinson as the coach and Cleveland being as good as they are, you are probably going to see Mitchell kind of level off at like 32, 33 minutes per game instead of 35, 36.
Well, that's what was really frustrating me, because you could kind of see an edge on it, and then it kind of did move to the point, like the price was at a point where if you did project them for even like 30 minutes, it was like really popping, like the number, and you're like, okay, the minutes are down, but like I don't need that many minutes to show an edge on like a 4.5. It was like plus 145 the one day. And then even like the potential assists, he brought potential assists, I think the one game. So I think Saturday I played him, he had 1 assist, 8 potential assists. I don't know what it was last night because the numbers haven't posted yet, but you see that and you're like, God, like it's the 1 looks bad in the box score, but the 8 potential assists isn't terrible, right? So anyways, I was curious about your take on that.
Yeah, and I mean that case too, and it obviously, but like potential assists and conversion rate are going to be more, especially early in the season, are going to be more interesting to me than like actual number of assists.
Yeah. And then like last night, so he's playing the Bulls, right? And you're like, Nikola Vucevic can't really protect him. He's also the beneficiary of, he's got 2 lob threats, right? Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, like 2 guys who can dunk, convert. Like those are like, to me, high value potential assists, and he's surrounded by shooters. Anyways, he's driving me crazy, but 0-3 on him last 3 games. I was just curious your take on that. Let's get going here. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if you find any better prices. Adam is from EV Analytics. They do fantastic prop projections. You can find them on the Covers website. Go to Sports NBA. You can see the player prop projections. It is an NBA Cup Tuesday, so we got a lot of good games here. A lot of props on the board there. Adam is 10-4 on the year. He's up 7.19 units. Let's show some love to that. If you're new to the release procedure, we'll tell you the game, we'll tell you the prop market we're betting on, tell you the team, the player. Then Adam's going to break down, kind of using those projections, but putting a little more advice and words to those numbers. On the website, there are just more numbers, so can provide a little more context to that. Let's get rolling here. I do really want to fire off this first one because it was moving right before we got on air here, so I didn't want to waste too much time. We're going to DraftKings. If you don't have DraftKings, Bet365 does have the best next. Actually, is the exact same price. If you don't have DraftKings and Bet365, BetRivers has the next price. So we're looking at the Charlotte Hornets and my Orlando Magic. We're going into the points market. And then the player we're looking for is LaMelo Ball. So the number's kind of there. It's moving. It is moving pretty fast. We'll give out this one. We'll check 365. So it's LaMelo Ball under 28.5 points, minus 125. Bet 365 was minus 120. They were a tie there. If someone can double check that for us, Bet 365 might have the best price. I wanted to give this one out because FanDuel has dropped this to 26.5. Not sure why they skipped 27.5 completely, but they're down to 26.5. So I wanted to get this one out here pretty fast. So the bet is LaMelo Ball under 28.5 points. There we go. It's minus 120 at 365. So that is your best price right now. So it's LaMelo Ball under 28.5 points, minus 120. Bet 365 is your best price. Adam, you want to break this one down?
Yeah, I mean, based on what LaMelo's done so far this year, it's not a great bet because he has been playing out of his mind as far as scoring. He's averaging like 28, 29 points per game. But there are just things that most likely are going to regress over time. 29.4 points per game so far for LaMelo. But he has about a 38% usage rate this year. Last year, he was about 32%. Now, obviously, he's going to be a high usage guy on this team. Brandon Miller's at about 25% for the season. Miles Bridges is at about 22%. There's nobody else really taking a lot of shots on this team. So the usage will be there for him, but it's still unlikely that he maintains 38%. It's more likely it ends up settling in that like 34, 35% range. His 3-point percentage this year also is a couple points higher than it has been in the past on more 3-point attempts per game as well. So still going to be a good, very good scorer, obviously. But, I do think that there are some spots where he can regress. We have him projected for 23.7 points. So even if you do say, okay, maybe he is a little bit better 3-point shooter, and maybe he does have like a 36% usage rate instead of 34, you're still going to be looking pretty good on the under here at 20.5.
I'll just answer these comments in the chat here. So someone said minus 135, Hard Rock, still good. Yeah, that's still good. Yeah. Adam can give you the break even there, but minus 135, I know if it's 23.7 on a 20.5, it's definitely still a really good price there.
Yeah, I mean, with this projection, we have the break even at minus 327. Like I said, I think the projection, you could argue the projection's a little bit low if you do just buy into some improvements this year, which, he's a young player. It certainly could happen. And there's not really anybody there taking shots away from him. But you have such a big margin here that I think minus 135 still looks fine.
Even like 23.7 points. So say that's a little low. And then say he does get like an NBA Cup little boost here. They play him for a couple more minutes. I don't think the Hornets are a team trying to win the NBA Cup. I don't think this really applies to them, but just say it does. Like even if you say you bump that up a couple points, you're still well below 28.5, which is essentially what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and that's on a 34-minute projection too, which is about what he's averaging this year. So it's not, he's averaging 33.4 minutes per game. So, it's not like the minutes projection is low at all. I think if anything's low, it's just that maybe he improved the 3-point shooting and maybe he is going to have a little bit higher usage rate this year. But the gap between what, how he projects with his currently like projected usage rate and 3-point percentage and where he would need to get to for this to not be a good bet is really big.
I will say, as someone who probably watches the most Magic basketball of anyone watching this show right now, obviously Jalen Suggs is a nightmare for any guard to deal with. It's like the last person I want to play against. The one thing different from this year to last year, obviously you can do actions, you can create switches and stuff. It's really hard against the Magic because you just switch to Kentavious Caldwell Pope, and it's a nightmare. And I've seen it from several guards who they're playing. Like it does not look fun at all because like what do? You just basically have to attack Jalen Suggs. Like you're going to run all these actions and then you're just switching to Kentavious Caldwell Pope. And then also one of the two is a help defender, which is also a nightmare as well. So I'd say the basketball side of things is definitely there for you on this play as well. LaMelo Ball too. Last 2 games, he's gone 38, 31, and this has bumped it up from like 25.5 to 28.5. So it's kind of moving off of recent performances too.
Yeah, Orlando second best adjusted defensive rating on dunks and threes this year, bottom half of the league in pace.
They're beat up. Obviously, they're not playing well because of Banchero, but the defense is still there. Like you still like Goga Batadze is a good drop defender. Jonathan Isaac's still playing stuff. So, anyways, that's the first bet. LaMelo Ball under 28.5 points, minus 120. Bet 365. We'll move to the second bet here, and we're going to. I think we're at bet 365. Del, if you want to go to 365, is the Hawks. Oh, sorry, we're at DraftKings. Hawks Celtics DraftKings. Did I have that wrong? No. Yeah, Hawks Celtics DraftKings. And then we're looking for player assists. And that is the best number. So it's Zaccharie Risacher under 2.5 assists plus 120. The second best price is BetMGM. But I think BetMGM and 365 are plus 115, but DraftKings has the best price. So it's Zaccharie Risacher under 2.5 assists plus 120. Adam, you want to break this one down?
Yeah, so no Trae Young today for Atlanta, but we haven't really seen Risacher doing much in the way of getting assists this year, whether Trae Young is on the floor or not. If you it's a small sample, but if you take Trae Young off the floor, you see a nice bump in assist opportunities for Jalen Johnson. I expect Dyson Daniels to be more involved there. Risacher has been behind these guys in potential assists overall this year. Like I said, you haven't seen a bump yet in a small sample without Trae Young, so I don't anticipate a huge boost for him in that stat category. We have him projected for 1.8 assists, lines 2.5 at plus money. So just looks like a good projection based bet there. 31 minutes, maybe if this game's competitive and he avoids foul trouble, he could play a little bit more, especially with Trae out. But again, there's just enough of a margin here at plus money that it looks very good.
You sent this one in, and it's obviously we don't have a big sample size on Risacher, but my immediate thought was when someone like Trae Young, who's a big usage, gets pulled out of the lineup, they just kind of assume everyone else's usage goes up. And I'm not sure Risacher is a guy who just creates offense because Trae Young is out of the lineup. He is like a 3-and-D guy. So it's kind of, and it's also, I'm pretty sure the last couple of games he's been like 1.5. So, and he's gone over, I'm pretty sure. So that has also like bumped it up. And this is like 2.5 juiced heavy to the over, not just like moving. I think he was like 1.5, like minus 110. I want to say at the last couple of games, or at least I've noticed him a couple times on the board. So now he's 2.5 minus 150. I just, in my head when he said that, I was like, yeah, I like that one. I like that one a lot because I don't think this is his game. I don't think Trae Young comes out and it's like, like I guess the flip would be the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant comes out. You do assume Devin Booker and Bradley Beal can do more. That is their game. They can do that. Zaccharie Risacher, I don't think. I mean, we don't really know, but to me, that's not. It doesn't. From what we've seen early, it doesn't look like him.
Yeah, and the thing that I like is that you can actually point to guys that have already been more involved in that role. It's not. I'd be a little bit more hesitant if it was just like, oh, well, we don't know who's going to step up as a playmaker. We haven't seen anybody other than Trae Young do it. But like, if you just look at potential assists overall this year, Trae Young, 20.5 per game. Jalen Johnson is second at 9.3. Dyson Daniels third at 5.8. Risacher is down here behind Onyeka Okongwu at 2.2 potential assists per game. So there's multiple bodies ahead of him. Keaton Wallace probably is in the rotation now. He's at 3.6 in 14.5 minutes per game. Like, there's multiple guys ahead of him that you expect to step up. And Jalen Johnson in particular, I think, I guess comforting because like he's going to be on the floor a ton, and we've seen him already be the second playmaker on this team. And then if you do look at the small sample without Trae Young on the floor, he's the one who his assist percentage has skyrocketed. So it's not only are you saying I don't think it's Risacher's game, but you can point directly to who you do think is going to take on that role also.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like you said, Jalen Johnson, and I do think Dyson Daniels has kind of, not necessarily with the Hawks, but like has shown that in the past, whether playing for Australia or the Pelicans, when there's injuries where he can kind of play that role too, where Risacher, just from what I've seen, I've only seen him play a couple times. I'm like, I don't see it at all. I totally agree with you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, to put it in context, Risacher is averaging 27 minutes per game. Okongwu is averaging 22.7, and Larry Nance is averaging 14.8. And Risacher's potential assists per game are sandwiched between those two.
Yeah, and even like we said, like, so he's averaging 27 minutes per game. Again, it's not like you're expecting a huge minutes bump because Trae Young's out. You kind of assume, I would say, if he's playing like 30, that's kind of probably where he's at, whether Trae Young's in or out, right? Like, it's not like he's like a rookie off the bench who is playing 10 minutes and he plays Trae Young's spot. Trae Young comes out, he comes in, he's probably playing the minutes you would expect anyways.
Right, yeah, and like I said, we have like a 31-minute projection on him. So, if this game's competitive and he's playing well, could he play like 34? Sure, but from a median standpoint, a 30 to 31-minute projection is about as high as you can go.
Someone also said there's blowout potential as well. I feel like the Hawks without Trae Young, they
are 15-point dogs in Boston.
Yeah, that's in play for sure. They're definitely in a lot of trouble. They rely on him very heavily to make things go. So the second bet is Zaccharie Risacher under 2.5 assists. Plus 120 DraftKings. The last one, we're going to Bet365, and we're looking for the Milwaukee Bucks against the Toronto Raptors. And then we're also going to the assist market. And if you don't have Bet365, BetMGM is right behind them on this price, 5 cents difference. The player we're looking for is Brook Lopez, and the number is there. I saw briefly. It's Brook Lopez under 1.5 assists plus 135. So once again, that's Brook Lopez under 1.5 assists plus 135. Adam, you want to break this one down?
Yeah, this is just another one where, no Dame Lillard here, so there are theoretically more assist opportunities available, but I don't really anticipate Brook Lopez seeing a big bump here. He is third on the team this season in potential assists per game behind Dame and Giannis at 3.5. He's averaging 1.6 assists per game. So like maybe you see a little bit of a bump, but you're probably just going to see DeLon Wright with the ball in his hands a lot. You're obviously going to have Giannis with the ball in his hands a lot. It's not like they're going to be, initiating the offense with Brook Lopez. So I don't expect a huge bump here. And you're just getting plus money on 1.5, which is basically what he's averaging for the season. I think that the price there is favorable enough that even if you do project a little bit of an assist bump, it still looks good. We haven't projected for 1.42 assists, which is a little bit behind what he's done so far this season. But, even if you bump that up a little bit, it's still going to look good at this price.
I want to say like 2 or 3 games ago, he was like, it was the flip. It was like 1.5, like plus 135 for the over. And then I think he's had like a couple games with 2 assists. And then the last game he had 3 assists. And those 1.5 guys are really funny because it's very reactive to like what they've just done. So if they just have a game where they had like 2 or 3 assists, it like really swings the juice. And then if they have a couple games where they don't do anything, it really swings back the other way. It's just kind of what you see with a lot of those guys.
And in a spot like this too, it's the perfect spot to remind you that like there's a difference between mean and median when you're betting. And like I said, he's averaging 1.6 assists per game. You can't get 1.6 assists. Like he needs 2 for you to lose this bet. And at plus money, it just looks good.
I do wonder too, no Dame Lillard. Obviously, Dame Lillard hurts the ability for someone to like convert a potential assist. That kind of helps when you have Dame Lillard. But the other thing too is like Doc Rivers has kind of gone a little more young athletic. Andre Jackson, AJ Green, and like Brook Lopez. It's not really a matchup. Like they don't necessarily need his rim protection and his defense against the Raptors. It's not like you're playing Jokic or Embiid and it's like, oh, get Lopez in there. So could they go Giannis at the 5 and go more wings, more athletic, more speed? Possible, right? I mean, I'm just saying things just because we have seen Doc Rivers do that a little bit. He's kind of switched up the rotations here. So
yeah, and I mean also, and not to read too much into it because it's early in the season, but as far as just thinking about maybe they're just different pairings that Doc Rivers likes, Brook Lopez has played a total of 6 minutes this year without Dame on the floor.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So what's do you have the minute projection on Lopez on that?
29.5.
Yeah, so I mean that's not. I think he's been sub 20. He's been sub 29 multiple times this year.
Yeah, he's at 30.5 for the season. So like you could argue the minute projection is maybe like a minute low. You could argue that the assist projection's a little low with Dame out, but like I don't really think it's too far off. And like you were saying, there's clearly a path to like Bobby Portis playing more, Giannis at the 5, Lopez just not really being needed out there. I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, and also like you said, Dame is somebody that can convert potential assists. You also just run the risk of the offense not being as good overall when you're replacing Dame with DeLon Wright and whoever else.
Yeah. I don't think DeLon Wright's not taking a dribble handoff and pulling a 3 from deep and splashing it, right? So, and that's a lot of those bigs. That's how they get their assists. They just literally flip it to it. They don't do anything that great. Like they're just catch the ball, flip it to the guy, and then the guard makes the play, right? But they get the assist for it. So, DeLon Wright. They've also, I see in the chat here too. Someone says, how long before the Bucks blow up everything up? It's getting weird because they convinced Gary Trent Jr. to basically take a minimum to go there. Somehow they got him there on a minimum contract. And now they moved him from the starting lineup, but he didn't even play. I know he's been injured. I don't know if he's actually injured. I feel like something's happening there. So the whole situation with them is really weird. Do you think Giannis gets traded? This is up to
I feel like it's up to Giannis. Like he's to this point, he's been very, very loyal to Milwaukee and pretty adamant about wanting to be there. But it does seem like there's starting to be some smoke where it's just like, get me out of here if this is what we're going to be doing.
Last question for you, because we're also talking Giannis. I was kicking around with producer Dell before we came on here. Brooklyn Nets 18-1 to make the playoffs. What do you think about that? I'm putting you on the spot because you haven't looked into it at all.
I have no idea other than the East as a whole is awful. So it seems pretty good.
Dell was like, I don't know. And I'm like, Dell, 30 wins might get you in the play-in tournament. Like they really just don't even have to win.
There's two teams above 500 right now.
Yeah. I would just be concerned because we're also talking Giannis. That's what my thought. The Nets and the Heat were on the short list. I don't know if it's a real list of teams he would want to go to. The Nets have like a bajillion first round picks. They have 4 this year. So I was like 18-1, make the playoffs. I'm like, it's kind of interesting. My fear is that they don't try to, like, they sell Cam Johnson, they start selling their guys because they're like, hey, we're trying to tank, stop winning.
Right.
But
also it's a fool's errand to try and out tank the Wizards this year. I think they have that locked up.
Actually, your Wizards are going down the right path. Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, all these guys. Yeah. I actually do like. They have something going for a draft that was not supposed to be that great. They walked away with 3 guys who look like they can play in the NBA.
Yeah, I was saying on a show yesterday that this is, I mean, outside of like the John Wall draft, I guess this is probably like the first Wizards draft that I can remember where they actually hit on guys that weren't, locks like John Wall was.
Yeah. All right. Who wins the Tankathon, Wizards or Raptors? What do you think? I would say the Wizards probably win that. Raptors.
Yeah, the Wizards don't have Emmanuel Quickly coming to win games for them.
Yeah. All right. It is the first night of the NBA Cup. I'm excited for it. I hope everyone enjoys it. Tuesday, Friday, NBA Cup. Haven't seen too many futures I like there, but it will start to create an interesting scenario for the player props moving forward, where you'll see that we are going to have to factor in some of these tiebreakers and stuff. So not necessarily tonight. We don't really know who's going to push minutes tonight, but definitely once you reach that 3rd, 4th game, it does start to become interesting where some teams definitely they have an opportunity to advance. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We will be back Thursday. There's only 1 game on Thursday, but I feel like we got to make you pick from it. But we got to make you pick from it because you swept last Thursday in 1 game. So we're not giving you the day off. We'll be back Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Good luck with your picks. Hopefully we get another sweep. Del, play the song.